All right. We are once again convening on Saturday, April 12th of 2025. I am Jay Essen, and today we have the Little Match Girl and His Holiness Pope Pius the Ninth, a game which has just been annotated for members of Ryan Veeder's Patreon. So this is something I'm very excited to get to. And let's see here. Okay, yes. We're going to go ahead and get started here. This is taking place between the rather significant game we just played, Little Match Girl 3, and another spin off game, Little Match Girl and Her Friend the Crow, before we get to Little Match Girl 4, Crown of Pearls, which is where things really heat up again. But this shouldn't be quite as involved as last time. As he says here, Little Match Girl and His Holiness Pope Pius IX. In this game, the Little Match Girl and her associate do the Pope a favor. It takes about 2 hours to play. It leans fairly heavily on a gimmick that only works in the browser version. So, since we are playing in the browser, that should work just fine. Let's go ahead and play it now. And here we have some Latin that I'm going to struggle with. Something to the effect of Ove mirabilmente era riduto, cio ci si perdo o per nostro difento, o per colpa di tempo o di fortuna, cio ce si perde qui la si raguna. Ariosto. Let's see what Google has to say about this. We're going to copy that. And it says, where was wonderfully reduced that which is lost either through our fault or through the fault of time or fortune, that which is lost here is gathered there. So, a glittering lizard slithered like quicksilver over the moldering bones into one eye socket of a decrepit skull and out the other. Then it leapt away, and the skull crumbled to pieces, clattering down the wall and onto the dusty floor. But nobody paid the sound any mind because Pope Pius IX himself was speaking. We would like to introduce you to Ebenezer Scrooge, he was saying, a very talented girl. She just has to look at a flame, a torch, a candle, anything, and at once she disappears off to somewhere else. Actually, we've already met, said the young man, whom the Holy Father was addressing. His delicate brown hair fell obstinately in front of his eyes. His jeans and T-shirt were very much out of place in 1848. Very briefly, he clarified. Hearing this, the Pope seemed somehow perturbed, very briefly, but then he smiled. Ah, then we suppose there is no need for us to explain Melix's powers to you, Ebenezabeth? It was something to do with mirrors, wasn't it? Asked Ebenezabeth, and the boy nodded. Esattamente. As we know, and we know, since you both have performed so excellently in our service before, that you will work very well together on this little assignment we have for you. But this time we have a surprise. His Holiness led the pair around a corner into another crypt. This time, we have the pleasure of recompensing you in advance. On the table before them were a saber and a revolver. Ebenezabeth recognized her Colt Patterson at once, and just as quickly she noticed an inlaid gold rose which had not been there when she surrendered her weapon to the Swiss guard. Melix raised his sword, inspecting another gold rose worked into its blade. The symbol of our most sacred blessing, Pius intoned. May these weapons defend you well in your dangerous careers, and may God look with favor on your works. I was assured you weren't hiring me to hurt anybody, said Ebenezabeth gravely, holstering her gun. Not at all, not at all, the Pope began to wring his hands as if shamed by the very suggestion of violence. It is a very simple mission for a pair as talented as you two. We seek a marble statue, carved in the days of Raphael and Michelangelo. It was once part of the Vatican's collection, but sadly has been lost. What was the sculptor's name? Asked Melix. That, too, is lost, Pius sighed. He cast his sad gaze over the walls, at the crumbling remnants of the past. Where do we start? Asked Ebenezabeth, and in response, the Pope led her and Melix around another corner, into another crypt, where there stood an enormous antique mirror. The Little Match Girl and His Holiness Pope Pius IX, a beloved fairy tale by Hans Christian Andersen, Release 1, serial number 240820, in Form 7, version 10.1.2, Vorpal version 4.0.1, Crypt. Ebenezabeth and Melix stood in one of the Capuchin crypts, a tall chamber lined with hundreds upon hundreds of ancient skulls. The Pope, in his shining robes, stood out very starkly against such ghoulish environs, as did the tall mirror that had been erected in the center of the corridor. I have been, of late, playing through Sam Barlow's Immortality, which has a rather significant component of its storyline taking place in a portrayal of some Capuchin monks. And so it is interesting to be here amongst the Capuchin crits. Let's start by first confirming I have played this through in its entirety at the time of its release. I struggled somewhat because there are some aspects of this that I did not understand very well at the time, and we'll see if time has given me any additional insight into those components. I have read the design diary associated with this document, but I haven't really dug into the source code yet. So there are going to be things that I do not recognize or am unfamiliar with. Let's examine Ebenezabeth. Ebenezabeth was a flaxen-haired girl of 19 years, rather short, rather skinny, and rather easy to overlook. A naive observer would be forgiven for assuming that she was not a remarkable girl, that she had not had many adventures, that she was not, at so tender an age, already weary of the world and its manifold disappointments. Okay. And so this character, Melix, I tend to pronounce that way because of its resemblance to Felix, but it might be Melix more appropriately. I'm not sure. Ebenezabeth had encountered blue jeans and t-shirts before, yet they still seemed rather strange in this context. Melix did not feel out of place, though, or if he did, he gave no sign. He caught Ebenezabeth's glance and nodded politely back, waiting for her to make the next move. And the Pope? The Holy Father, a wavy-haired, round-faced gentleman, had a very small smile on his lips. Ebenezabeth thought he seemed very pleased with himself for having arranged all this. I don't think we'll be able to sing in this situation. Yes, Ebenezabeth didn't want to sing in front of the Pope, lest she be invited to perform before the cardinals. Let's examine the skulls, which was a rather important thing to do in the last game so that we could get our Jade Skull, which we never actually wound up using. The walls of this crypt were piled high with skulls of Capuchin friars from centuries past, once gleaming white and stacked in neat rows, now crumbling, toppling, brown with age. Okay. And this mirror. The mirror was mounted in a gilt frame, as tall and as broad as a great doorway. In its surface, Ebenezabeth could see Melix and herself, and the Pope standing behind them, clasping his hands together. We should probably type about. Thank you for playing The Little Match Girl and His Holiness Pope Pius IX. I hope you're enjoying it. It was tested by Robert Eggleston, Jason Love, and Sarah Wilson. The development of The Little Match Girl and His Holiness Pope Pius IX was made possible by the generous Patreon support of Emily Short, Sammy L. Barawi, Janice M. Eisen, Q Fever, Matt Schneider, Sarah Narboso, Jenny Polodna, Russ Wang, Janelle Marie, Michael Ziegler, Grant Veeder, Magnus Buchanan, Sarah Wilson, Doug Orleans, Jason Love, Greg Frost, Carl Ove Hoofdhammer, Nils Fagerberg, Rich Cheng, Julia Ramsey, Carolyn Van Esseltine, Jacques Frichet, Matthew Zimmerman, Jessica Seidel, Derek Sotak, Yerrick, Zach Hodgins, Carl Muckenhaupt, Alan Tan, Robin Johnson, Robert Palutzian, Jordan Ish, Mark, Jeremy Wright, Benjamin Slade, Jason Farrell, Dominia, Tobias V. Langhoff, Stephen Norris, Brett W., Robert Eggleston, Josh Lawrence, and Evan Hahn. If you'd like to support my work and play the next little magical game before anyone else, you can sign up at patreon.com/rcveeder. Okay, let's talk to Melix. We'd better get a move on, said Melix. Can we talk to Ebenezabeth? She mumbled something. Okay. Let's talk to the Pope. What does the statue look like? Asked Ebenezabeth. The Pope nodded. A female nude, life-sized, in a vibrant, sprightly pose, rather like... And he raised his arm halfway, about to imitate the lost statue's vibrant, sprightly gesture, but quickly thought better of it. Never mind, he said. If we tried to do it again, unfortunately, the again and G commands had to be disabled to make this game's amazing gimmick work. So let's be excited for that gimmick whenever we come across it. We just talked to the Pope again. Pius raised his eyebrows. Do the two of you need anything more from me? I don't think so, said Ebenezabeth. So let us try, first examining our inventory. Let's examine the revolver. On one side of a revolver were engraved the words, For my friend Ebenezabeth, Samuel Colt. On the other was inlaid a gleaming golden rose, next to the inscription, Pius PP 9. Let's examine Melix's saber. Melix's saber was sheathed, but she remembered seeing a gold rose inlaid on it, like the one inlaid on her revolver. Okay, now I think we can enter the mirror. Melix gently took Ebenezabeth's hand, and with his other hand, he reached toward the mirror. He drew her forward, into the rippling metal, until they both came through to the other side, and they were in... Fresno County, 2506. Campsite. The center of a dense forest. Thick green grass grows around the base of a gigantic redwood tree. A series of square posts have been driven into the trunk, forming a precarious spiral staircase. In a circle of rocks at your feet, a small campfire burns. Melix lets go of your hand. What a munificent guy that Pius is. I wonder if he has any ulterior motives. I don't like to assume the worst of people, you answer, although the thought had crossed your mind. Let's look at our tree here. The tree is enormous, and seems to be fairly healthy despite having so many posts pounded into it. A wave of humidity falls over you, followed by a thunderclap and a sudden burst of rain. That's strange, says Melix. We examine the weather. You can't see that or it's not implemented. The rain. It's raining steadily. Not too hard, actually. Just fine. And the posts. The posts are spaced regularly in a helix around the redwood's massive trunk, close enough for you to step from one to the next, but not so close as to make you feel entirely safe doing so. They must be driven fairly deep into the wood to be so sturdy. All at once the rain stops, and leaves in the surrounding trees turn from green to yellow, to orange, to bright red, before they begin falling to the forest floor. That's very strange, says Melix. Okay. We look at the leaves. The leaves are falling all around. We talk to Melix again. Let's keep going, Melix says. We'll know that statue when we see it. A cold wind rushes through the leafless forest, carrying with it wisps of snow. We examine the snow. The snow seems to be coming down harder with every passing moment, but somehow you doubt it'll keep up for long. We look now. Campsite, the center of a dense forest. Flurries of snow skitter over the dead grass, around the sides of a gigantic redwood tree. A series of square posts have been driven into the trunk, forming a precarious spiral staircase. In a circle of rocks at your feet, a small campfire burns, quivering in the bitter wind. The wind changes direction, and you feel much warmer. The snow ceases, the forest erupts in green. So, the seasons appear to be moving with remarkable rapidity here. If we try singing now, Melix is mumbling to himself. Capistrano swallow, answer to your inner voice, and please return. Okay. And again, Melix is mumbling to himself, but I saw you. A wave of humidity falls over you, followed by a thunderclap and a sudden burst of rain. I think we'll probably get considerably more if we keep singing, but I'm just going to go ahead and, rather than examine the fire and probably go back to where we just came from, I am going to go up. Stairs. You've reached roughly the height of the surrounding trees. Now the rain is falling directly on you. The campsite is now far below. There's some sort of tree house at the top of these stairs, but it's a long way up from here. Here's the straight and narrow, Melix says, once he's caught his breath. Pius knows the way the wind is blowing. Revolution is bubbling up in Sicily. It's bubbling all over 1848. Before long, it'll burble on over to the Papal States. You nod, too wounded to agree out loud. Okay, so yeah, apparently we're just going to let the conversation play out as we travel through the countryside looking for our statue. Let us go ahead and examine the trees. Deciduous trees surround the great redwood, garbed in red and gold leaves. Okay. Let's see if we can see that tree house. There's a platform up there, but that's all you can see from down here. A cold wind rushes through the leafless forest, carrying with it wisps of snow. Let's go up. Treehouse. At the top of the stairs is a broad wooden scaffold, open to the snow. Ramshackle walls separate the treehouse into different rooms, but there are no exterior walls and no railings. One doorway leads east, another leads west. A winch and a wooden elevator stand at the scaffold's edge. Do you think this statue will provide Pope Pius with some insurance? Could be, says Melix, but maybe what he's really after is you and me, a couple of loyal warriors to defend him when the status quo hits the fan. I already have plenty of loyalties, you say. Melix shrugs. Let's examine these walls. Inspecting the carpentry more closely wouldn't diminish any of your concerns. The wind changes directions, and you feel much warmer. The snow ceases, the forest erupts into green. Okay. See this winch. The winch is a professional piece of equipment bolted onto a slapdash death trap, the rest of the treehouse, except the crank is missing. Okay, we'll need to keep our eyes open for a crank. And the elevator? The elevator is a wooden cage hanging from a rope. It doesn't look especially reliable. Okay, let's go to the west then. Supplies. Crates, toolboxes, hoses, buckets, batteries, canisters, and so on. Not arranged according to any system, all in danger of falling over the sides of the treehouse. The way out is east. A battered dolly leans against a pile of junk. Let's examine the crates. You cast an eye over the supplies, hoping something useful will make itself known to you. That dolly, obviously. Can we search the crates? No. Examine the dolly. A sturdy, if somewhat beat-up, wooden platform on casters, the perfect thing for pushing large objects around. A cold wind rushes through the leafless forest. Right, okay, weather continues. Let's take the dolly. You pick up the dolly. Great idea, Melix says. I bet we'll also need some of these. He pulls a handful of bungee cords out of a bucket and stuffs them in his pocket. Okay, so we've got a dolly. I guess that makes sense since we're looking for a statue. Can we examine the bucket? No, the bucket just disappears into the scenery. Okay, let's go back to the east then. And further. To the laboratory. A woman clad mostly in tattoos leans over a rickety table, her fingers toying with the spheres of an elaborate orrery. Astrological diagrams, architectural plans, and a bulbous mirror hang on the walls around her. She turns one of the orrery's wheels. All the planets swing around, and clouds rush in overhead to begin raining immediately. You shouldn't be doing that, you tell her. It's very dangerous. She looks up at you and frowns. Oh, you're stupid. That's okay. Everybody's born stupid, and not everybody can aspire to basic intelligence. She returns her attention to the orrery. Let's examine this woman. Her expression is single-minded. Her hair is a tangled mess. Her tattoos are mostly writing. Astrological formulae you can't decipher. Messages in a language you don't recognize. Perhaps it's a code only she can read, although it would be impractical to have tattooed so much of it on her back. The astrologer turns her orrery again. The rain stops, and the leaves below all turn brown. You really should stop that, Melix warns her. You're putting a lot of stress on some very delicate systems. She doesn't look up. Idiot, she mutters. Can we talk to her? I'm Ebenezabeth, you tell the woman. This is Melix. And I'm Mouse. See? I'm polite. Go away. What exactly are you trying to accomplish by screwing with the solar system? Melix asks. She stares back as if in pity or in pain. None of your idiot business. Okay, well, fair enough. Looking again, we have the table and the orrery. You get the sense that maybe this table was dragged all the way up those stairs. That seems impractical. The orrery, a model of the solar system, with each planet mounted in its own wheel. The gears ensure that they all move correctly with respect to each other. Melix points a finger gun at the tiny sphere representing Mercury, gives a little kapow and a wink. Mouse turns to the orrery again. The snow stops, and the trees below are suddenly covered in green leaves. Okay. Look at the plans. It looks like this tree house is supposed to be quite a bit more substantial, eventually. Or was supposed to be at some point. Well, there's a mirror. Your reflection in the convex mirror looks ridiculous. It's supposed to repel witches, Melix explains. Sachimaeus turns the orrery again. Clouds rush in overhead, and it immediately begins raining. Well, since we don't seem to be doing much else here, we may as well just go ahead and get under that mirror. Hey, so we're taking your dolly, Melix tells Sachimaeus. Great, whatever, she grumbles, waving you away. Melix taps on the bulbous mirror, and its surface undulates in response, pulling you through to the other side. Indian Ocean, 1953. Shipwreck. A sad tale, the ghostly sailor groans. All souls was lost, all bones was sucked clean by suckerfish and scattered to the sea winds. Only I remains to hold vigil and to tell the tale. Hold what kind of vigil exactly? Melix asks the phantom. He shakes his head. His beard swirls slowly back and forth. I wish as I knew, young man. The ghost lantern turns this way and that over piles of wreckage, casting eerie shadows over the sea floor. A path through the debris leads west. Let's examine this phantom. You can't see that, or it's not implemented. Oh, okay. The ghost. He won't look right at you. His gaze is fixed on something far in the distance, if indeed he sees anything at all. His phantasmal beard billows in the undersea currents, moving as if with a mind of its own. A faint bluish flame burns in his lantern, eternally protected from the quenching seawater. Can we talk further to the ghost? What's your name, sir? Maddock, he says. I think. Could be Maddock was my closest friend. Could be I, Willem, killed a Maddock. I likes the name, at least. Then you should keep it, for the time being, you say. And, for the time being, he is Maddock. Can we talk to Maddock further? Use living folks, Maddock observes. Guilty, says Melix. No shame in it, but you'd best get back to the surface soon. Living folks quick turn to dead folks down here. We won't be long, Melix assures him. So if we look further, there's wreckage. The timbers are smashed to pieces, no longer even in the shape of a ship. You can think of few things capable of such destruction, but you'd prefer not to. You can think of a few things capable of such destruction, yes. That terrible dogfish, for example. Let's go ahead and examine the seafloor. The bottom of the sea is covered in some very soft substance, not pleasant to walk through. Let's consider the water. It's hard to explain, but the water is a bit difficult to notice. That seems consistent with how we have journeyed so far in our adventures. Let's go ahead and take our little trip through the debris to the west to the cliff's edge. The cliff would afford a breathtaking view of the ocean's depths if the sunlight would reach just a little farther. A narrow shelf makes it just possible to sidle down the cliff face. The shipwreck is off to the east. I'm considering the possibility, Felix says, looking down uncertainly, that Pius engineered this as a sort of bonding exercise for us. It'd be a bit manipulative of him, you say, and a bit convoluted. I'm just considering the possibility. So, I'm very glad that this is a text adventure that we're playing, because if I'm honest, I have a bit of thalassophobia. I do not enjoy the prospect of vast spaces in the ocean depths. I have in the past had a bit of fear of heights and fear of high ceilings, and so naturally fear of depth also goes along with those elements. And while I have mostly dealt with my fear of heights, and I don't fear any dread high ceilings anymore, depth still gets me. The part of Final Fantasy VII when you are taking the submarine through the undersea currents, and you can come across extremely terrifying large monsters, always gets me. I really did not enjoy that. And I plan probably never to play Subnautica for similar reasons, but since we're just dealing with our imagined ocean here, I'm okay with this. So let's examine the depths. Since we're courting danger, you look out into the darkness. Yeah, that would give me the chills if I could picture it a little bit more clearly. Let's examine this shelf. The cliff is extremely steep, but the shelf that zigzags down its face looks fairly safe. Kind of safe. Okay. Does Felix have anything to say? No, he does not. Let's go ahead and head down, then, to the side of the cliff. The ledge zigzags up and down the cliff. The visibility down here is very poor. You have to shuffle along to be sure of your footing. It makes sense, though, Felix goes on. You have two great operatives. You give them a mission. They get to know each other, get to like each other, like Yule and Deborah. They overcome some adversity. Now they're a team. And you're the one who brought them together. Exactly. Okay. Can we see the cliff from here? Yeah, it's the same. Okay. Well, much to think about. Let's continue down to the bottom of the cliff. Watch your step, you warn Felix as you reach the bottom. A whale's skeleton lies strewn across the cliff's base, festooned with mussels, sponges, and fern-like sea things. A few of the ribs still stand upright. Most have toppled into tangled piles, very easy to trip over. The scene is lit dimly by a feeble light filtering out of the cave to the east. Thanks, Felix says, keeping clear of the whale fall. I'm not sure of the Pope's motives either, you tell him, but I don't see any reason not to finish the assignment. Sure, he says. I guess I'm just paranoid all the time. I can't turn it off. Let's examine the skeleton. So many things are growing over the bones that it's possible to forget that this was once a huge, majestic animal. Then you make out the shape of its skull, and you remember, and it's upsetting. Okay. Yeah, the ribs are the same. And the cave. A dim glow plays on the walls of a cleft in the cliff face just east from where you stand. So let's head into the east to the cave. A skeletal merfolk is stretched over a scrying table, bony arms reaching uselessly toward a vanished vision. The runes etched in the glass are grimy and faint, and the light issuing from the table flickers weakly. Only vague, cloudy shapes are visible in its mirrored surface. That's a lot of skeletons all on the same mission, huh? Felix comments. You hadn't noticed. Okay. Let's check out this merfolk. A sorcerer, maybe. An outcast from Atlantis, maybe. The bones are covered in the same black grime that's gotten into most of the carvings in the table. Okay. Let's examine the table. When these runes were in better condition, the mirrored table displayed a vision of something, somewhere in space and time. Something beautiful, something desperately longed for. And this merfolk preferred to waste away and perish rather than stop looking at it. That's your gut instinct assumption based on very little evidence. Okay, I wondered. Okay. Well, I guess we go ahead and enter the table. Melix places his hand on the scrying table, and it swallows you both up. To the floating palace of Eros, conversation pit. A ring of marble couches covered in silk pillows surrounds the hearth. All of this is recessed into the top of a room-sized cloud. Far below is a green sea, dotted with white islands. Another cloud is a short jump to the west. This is an intriguing setting. Let's examine the couches. The pillows are brightly colored to set off the stark whiteness of the marble, and very thick to set off the extreme hardness of the marble. The floor inside the conversation pit is cloud stuff, but a few feet below the level of the cloud stuff outside. Okay. We examine the cloud itself. The cloud stuff feels as insubstantial as it looks, but you and Melix are having no trouble walking on it. Melix is standing closer to the brink of the clouds than you'd like. Okay. We enter the pit. You take a seat on a pillow. It is not as soft as the surrounding clouds. Kind of defeats the point a little bit. Okay. Let's go ahead and try going west. First, getting off the couch, you stand up. Anteroom. This cloud stretches off to the north, but the marble columns make it clear that this section right here is supposed to be its own area. A waiting area, maybe. The other cloud is a short jump to the east. We didn't actually look at the sea. You cast a quick look over the edge of the cloud from a safe distance. Oh, I know where we are, says Melix. Greece. Okay. And let's see these columns. The columns are in perfect condition, glittering in the sun. They do an excellent job of separating this area from the area to the north. I am craning my neck to look at the screen because one of my cats has once again interjected herself into the proceedings and is standing obstinately in front of my view of the screen here. I would prefer that you not touch the microphone, ma'am. Thank you. Just keep walking. Very good. Farewell, Grey Goose. Okay. So let's go ahead and continue to the west. Oh, I could go north or east. We go north from here to the throne room. The marble throne of Eros is empty. Because he's off canoodling with that floozy, Zeus mutters. Then his eye turns on you, and his beard bristles. Ebenezabeth Scrooge, he roars, and the cloud stuff beneath you darkens. I mislike surprises, mortal. Tell me now, why have you come here? On what errand has my brother, Poseidon the horse tamer, sent you? And further, tell me this, who is that boy with you? I'm very sorry to interrupt you, tell him. I'm not here on behalf of Poseidon, though. It really is a coincidence that we've run into each other, and I hope my associate and I won't bother you too much. This is Melix, you add, and Melix gives Zeus a little salute. We're working together on a contract. Thou dissemblest! Think not to practice your mortal cunning upon a god, upon Zeus, the keeper of oaths. Know that your intrigues shall fail, and that your deceit shall swallow you up, and that all the schemes of my brother, Poseidon the Earthshaker, shall fall like boulders over his head. Do you know where Eros is? Asks Melix. He's back there, Zeus says, jabbing his thumb at the north end of the cloud. I can hear them pawing at each other. The cloud extends north, east, and south from here. Okay. If they're busy, let's examine Zeus first. Zeus is a muscular gentleman with a long, curly beard. He's in a sour mood. Let's talk to him. You look like you're waiting for something, Melix offers. Zeus hisses through clenched teeth. Thrice have I requested the presence of my grandson, Eros the Quick Striker, at my court on high Olympus, that I might lecture him on certain matters of no concern to a wretched mortal such as yourself. And thrice has he ignored my summons. Therefore I descended to his airy palace, ready to chide his shameless defiance, but he and his girl are busy. Zeus, I feel like that's something you are known for yourself, so I don't see why you are getting so high and mighty about this, other than the fact that you get high and mighty about everything, being who you are. Let's go ahead and talk to Zeus once more, whose name I can spell. How long have you been waiting? Asks Melix. Zeus flares his mighty nostrils. 3 days and 2 nights, he grumbles, which is a testament to his godlike patience, at least. That is quite a while to wait. Let's go to the east, to the target range. The way back to the throne room is west. At one end of this chamber stands a weapon rack, on which a golden bow rests. At the other end, a balloon with a target painted on it floats a few feet above the cloud floor. Let's examine this bow. Cupid's bow! Melix leans over to inspect the weapon. That'd be fun to play with. Let's leave it alone, you suggest. He shrugs and steps back. I don't know how much damage it could do with no string and no arrows, he says. I think there's an extra quotation marks there. Oh well. So let's examine the balloon. A balloon with a bright red target painted on it, and a long string hanging down. We can probably hit the balloon, but I think we will need it. I want to try shooting the balloon, though. Yeah, you don't want to fire your revolver at the balloon. Why would you want to do that? Let's try taking the balloon. It is still a balloon with a bright red target. Okay. What else is in here? Let's look at the weapon rack. The mahogany weapon rack may be the only furniture in the palace that isn't made of marble. A golden bow sits on the rack. Let's go to the west. Can we talk to Zeus once more? What is it now? Zeus bellows. So you back off. Fair enough. We'll go ahead and show him the balloon. Man, why am I struggling with Zeus's name so much today? Where did you get that? Zeus asks. You tell him you found it in the target range over there. His brow furrows. You would pilfer the athletic equipment of the very gods? Your girlish impudence knows no bounds, Ebenezabeth, but I suppose my grandson, winged Eros, deserves nothing less for his immodesty, so I will refrain from punishing you. Let's show the dolly. Some sort of overcomplicated mortal contraption, Zeus says. It's not that complicated, Melix says, but you tug on his shirt before he can go on. We'll show the revolver to Zeus. You don't want to lose track of your revolver, so we do not show it to him. Let's look at the throne. The throne is bigger than human-sized, but it's not quite Zeus-sized. The armrests are carved to look like grinning dolphins. Well, no use putting it off any longer. Let's go ahead and head to the north. To the bedchamber of Eros. At this end of the cloud, a large marble bed is covered by a diaphanous canopy, underneath which a couple of winged silhouettes are tussling. The throne room lies to the south. Another cloud is a short jump to the east. One of the silhouettes is giggling uncontrollably. Oh ho ho ho, the other exclaims. Okay, so if we examine the bed, you're trying not to look too closely, but at a glance it seems likely that the bed is covered in numerous pillows of the sort you saw earlier in the conversation pit. Despite your best efforts, you overhear, "Hey, be careful!" "Oh, believe me, I'm being careful." Then more giggling. Can we look under the bed? The bottom of the marble bed is perfectly flush with the insubstantial cloud stuff on the floor, even though that doesn't make sense. Is that... What do you think? Oh, that's a good idea. Okay, let's... talk. You and Melix are doing everything in your power to avoid making eye contact. More giggling and scuffling and heavy breathing is going on under the canopy. Okay, well, I think that's enough of that. Let's go ahead and head east here. To the boudoir of Psyche. A long marble couch sits alone on this cloud, overlooking the glittering ocean. Melix clears his throat noisily. So, he says, did Pius ever try to convert you to Catholicism? He brought it up, you say, loud enough to drown out any ambient panting. But I told him I'm a very loyal Lutheran, Church of Denmark. My family is Abdelarian Jewish, Melix replies. There's a sharp cry from the next cloud, and he grimaces. Of course, my worldview is a little more nuanced than that. Of course, you say. The other cloud is a short jump to the west. Let's examine this couch. The couch is covered in pillows. The one thing in this palace in the clouds has more of than anything else is pillows. A bronze hand mirror rests on one pillow. Can we look at the ocean? You cast a quick look over the edge of the cloud from a safe distance. Okay. And the hand mirror. Excuse me, just a moment. Excuse me. The mirror's handle is worked in the shape of a nymph, holding the polished disc over her head. Your reflection's expression is very serious. Well, let's see if we can go ahead and enter this, excuse me, mirror. I tried to type a command into the recording software's interface. No wonder it did not work. Let's enter the mirror. Felix runs his fingers over the mirror, and the bronze vibrates in response. Pico de Fogo, 1717. Tunnel. The walls are rough stone, razor sharp in places. A hot, dry current of air, stinking of sulfur, blows from the passage to the north and out of the natural chimney overhead. A sputtering flame issues from a crack in the floor. We examine the crack. The gas burning above the fumarole is almost invisible, but you can see it. You know it's strong enough to help both you and Melix, and it dutifully carries you away to the floating palace of Eros. Nope, we want to enter the mirror again. Oop. And come back to Pico de Fogo. Okay, let's examine the walls. There's not a comfortable part to lean against anywhere. Can we smell? It is not pleasant. Can we listen? We don't hear anything interesting. Okay. Can we go up? You don't see any way up these walls, much less up the sides of the chimney. Me neither, says Melix. It's interesting how many people are responding to the narration as though they can hear it. Let's go ahead and go to the north then. To the lava pool. How are you not sweating? Melix cries, fanning himself ineffectively. You don't know what to tell him. Still solid boulders stick out of the molten rock here and there, but the only real path runs from south to northeast. Examine the boulders. None of the patches of solid rock look especially reliable. And the lava? The lava is bubbling, smoking, flowing slowly over itself. It smells awful. The fumes are supposed to be really poisonous, right? Asks Melix. That's what I've heard, you tell him. Well, let's not keep him here any longer. Let's go ahead and head to the northeast, to the tall chamber. A piece of rock slithers down the wall toward you. Then its eyes open. Its skin turns golden yellow, and you realize you're looking at a huge lizard. Fantastic! Visitors, he hisses. You may admire my hoard as much as you like. He turns one eye toward the northwest tunnel. But try to steal anything, and I'll slurp you down like a couple of bugs. Consider us duly warned, Melix says, giving the salamander a wide berth. We'll examine him. The salamander is about 10 feet long. His skin is cinnabar red most of the time, but it changes without warning. Bright green and shiny smooth when he notices you looking at him. Dark brown and as rough as the walls when he thinks you're not looking. Let's talk to him. You introduce yourself and Melix. A pleasure to meet you. I am Garm, he says the salamander, and this volcano is where I keep all my treasure. We're actually on something of a treasure hunt ourselves, Melix begins, but you glare at him, and he shuts his mouth. How intriguing! Garm's skin ripples with shades of lavender. Well, best of luck to you. Okay. Let's go ahead and head to the northeast then. Oh, no, excuse me, northwest. To the treasure hoard. Garm's collection includes a copper bathtub, a Baroque dressing table, an electrum statue of a wolf, a sundial, a set of painted vases, and a large silver bird cage. The way out is southeast. An oblong opening in the south wall forms a sort of window. Melix takes a look. Huh, is that the room we were just in? On the sundial is an amulet. Let's examine it. It's a golden pendant on a golden chain set with 4 gems: ruby, emerald, topaz, and diamond. We can take it. Wear it. Yeah, sure. Okay. Let's go ahead and examine the sundial. The body of the sundial is a pillar carved from greenish stone, but the gnomon is a triangle of tarnished brass. Okay, we've got a bathtub. An elegant clawed-foot bathtub in excellent condition. The front claws are an eagle's talons, and the back claws are a lion's paws. I think the dressing table is going to have the mirror in it, so let's look at this statue. You kneel to inspect the wolf. Not the statue we're looking for, but it's very nice. Probably not solid electrum, you say. I don't know how you can tell it's electrum in the first place, says Melix. It's a fair question. I do not think I could identify electrum were I presented with it. Let's look at the vases. The 4 vases are arranged in order of increasing size, and the paintings on their sides accordingly depict various flowers sprouting, growing, and bursting into bloom. I guess you might pronounce those vases, but I do not. Let's look once more, and we can examine the bird cage. The cage is huge. You would only have to crouch a little to fit inside. The bones sitting at the bottom are black, almost burned away. Well, that's ominous. Let's look at the dressing table. The table itself is fine, but the attached mirror is a work of art. We examine it. The frame around the mirror is incredibly complex, and yet perfectly symmetrical. We go ahead and enter the mirror. Melix reaches out toward the mirror, and it obligingly pulls the 2 of you inside. Schwarzgala Caverns, 1929. Gateway. Pinkish mist swirls around your ankles, but it quickly recedes into the darkness. The mouth of the cave is boarded over. You can only see a little bit of the outside world through the planks. To the west, the path deeper into the earth is clear and well trodden. Okay. Let's see. We examine the boards. The barrier is solidly built, but one small gap between the boards is broad enough to look through. Look through gap. There's a sign posted just outside the cave. Further away, some sort of bonfire is burning, so that's going to be our way out. Can we examine the sign? The top of the sign says, Kein Zutritt in large letters. At the bottom it says, Sicherheitsgründen geschlossen, and in between is a bunch of writing you can't see. Okay. Let's examine this mist. The fog, or whatever it was, is gone. Okay. I have a feeling that I remember something about that mist that may not be entirely mist. Let's see what else is in this cave. We can go to the west. To the slope. A string of electric lights hangs from the ceiling, buzzing softly. Someone's up ahead. A very large someone. Light glints off his shovel. You pull Melix behind a rock. I've met that vampire before, you whisper. Kozan, one of Ate's bodyguards. Melix's eyes go wide. Are we screwed? Possibly. Kozan is walking slowly up the slope toward you. We examine him. So something I'm remembering about this game is that it involves a need to type quickly. This is something Ryan has been experimenting with a lot with in his later games. Is real time interactions in interactive fiction. So that is going to be something of a recurring theme in this particular game. We're going to have to do some speedy typing, and so I will not be able to narrate during that part, but I'll scroll back up and read through it when we get there. And I think one of those moments is coming up pretty quickly here. So examine Kozan. The 7-foot-tall vampire with the bloodstained shovel is called Kozan. If he's here, Ate is nearby. Kozan pauses briefly, glances around, sighs. He doesn't see you. Can we look? Okay, string of electric lights hangs from the ceiling, buzzing softly. You and Felix are crouched behind a rock. Kozan turns and makes his way back down the slope. Can we sneak past Kozan? No, we cannot. Turn light off. You can't do much more than look from down here. Now Kozan is too far away to see clearly. Can we go north? No, we cannot. The passageway leads east and the slope continues downward. Okay, let's go ahead and wait for him to come back out of view again. Okay. Now let's go down. While Kozan's back is turned, okay. Shoot him. Shoot him. Okay, so there's an example of the real-time combat. So when I hit down, while Kozan's back is turned, you creep quietly down the passage, but not quietly enough. He spins to face you, raising his shovel. Shoot him, Felix hisses. The vampire leaps forward. You jump back, and his shovel slams into the ground. Kozan swings. You duck, almost fall over Felix. The flat of Kozan's shovel connects with your shoulder, and you stagger. I could not type the command in time. That's not a verb I recognize. You dash out of the way as Kozan charges toward you. Shoot him. You fire. The bullet pierces his chest. A shocked grunt passes Kozan's lips as white flame consumes him from within. In another moment, he's a pile of ashes on the cave floor. Sweet! How'd you do that? Asks Felix. You look down at your gun. Must be the blessing, you mutter. We examine the ashes. Nothing much to look at. So now we are still on the slope. We can continue down. The way out is east. So we go down to the icy cave. The walls here are covered in frost, and an icicle hangs from each stalactite. A slope leads upwards, and the cave continues to the east. A sullen vampire leans against one wall, idly conjuring snowflakes out of empty air. Well, shoot him too, Felix whispers. Not in cold blood, you tell him. Felix mutters something. Let's examine the vampire. The snowflakes he summons are reflected in his spectacles. A few are caught in his bushy mustache. You assume he's a vampire based on the context and the fangs. If you're so intent on murdering him, your sword should work just as well. But you could get him from way over here. But you don't want to. Let's talk to the vampire. You're trying not to be noticed. We're not getting anywhere by arguing, Felix points out. That's correct. Can we try and... obviously the correct answer is to just go ahead and come out of hiding so that we get into a fight. I'm hoping to try and distract him, so I was thinking maybe I could throw amulet. Unnecessary. Let go of balloon. You let go of the balloon. It floats in place, not sinking to the ground, not flying away. Well, okay, let's go ahead and take it. And let's go east, since Felix is getting... Okay. So, yeah, to save Felix further tooth grinding, we went east to step into view. The vampire looks up and smiles. I thought something smelled delicious, he says, and he slithers towards you. He reaches out with icy claws, scratching at your clothes. The vampire breathes a blast of frigid air in your face. You shut your eyes, stagger backward. Shoot vampire. You pull the trigger, and just like Kozan, the vampire is consumed in a moment by holy light. Melix emerges from his hiding place. That would have been a lot less scary if you'd sniped him from over here. That's not how I do things, you tell him. But he's right. Okay. Do I need to reload? I don't need to reload in this game. We go east. To the banquet hall. The floor of this grand chamber has been cleared of stalagmites and paved over to accommodate a long table and a few dozen high-backed chairs. The icy cave is west from here, and a slope leads further down. Melix taps your shoulder. One more, he whispers. You see her, perched like a vulture on the back of a chair. Migrim, I ran into her once. What happened, you ask? I ran away. We examine Migrim. Oh, we're fighting. Whoop. Okay, that was a lot. So, tried to examine her. Her black armor covers everything but her head. Her long dark hair is tied with pink ribbons. Her eyes glitter hungrily, but she hasn't seen you yet. Oh, but I have, she says, leaping down from the chair. In her gauntlets is a spiked flail. She rushes toward you. You fall backward. She grins. Migrim brings her flail down. You roll out of the way. She swings at you again. A spike slashes at your shoulder. Migrim's flail whistles past your head. Migrim brings her flail down. You roll out of the way. Shoot Migrim. She's almost on top of you. You raise your gun and fire. The bullet bounces off her armor. She smiles sweetly. Don't worry, little girl. We're going to have a lot of fun. Her clawed gauntlet reaches for your neck. Her head falls to the floor. Her body topples over awkwardly. Then head and body both explode. Melix sheathes his saber. Teamwork, he says, helping you to your feet. Thanks. We've taken some damage. I examine myself. You look yourself over carefully while Melix is looking at something else. We look. The floor of this grand chamber has been cleared of stalagmites and paved over to accommodate a long table. Let's examine this table. A sheen of cave moisture covers the table, not to mention a substantial amount of cave grime. Well, that's gross. Examine the chairs. The chairs are stylish, and they might have been comfortable in some other environment, but down here they look miserably cold and wet, and they won't last long. Okay. Well, we should go ahead and examine stalactite. And yeah, no. Okay, we'll just go down. To the archway. Little of the cave's natural features remain. The floor is smoothed into a spiral slope leading up to the banquet hall. A carved archway leads west. In front of the archway, a 15-foot golem paces back and forth. Examine the golem. The thing was built from the stone of the cave. Some parts have the liquid smoothness of the surrounding walls. Others are roughly hewn. It scans the area with huge glowing eyes, but it hasn't seen you yet. Okay, good grief. That was a lot. So, we began, since this is animated by magic, I felt Ebenezer would not object to shooting first in this case, which seems borne out by the outcome. I shot the golem. You fire. A chunk of its body falls to the floor. Melix blinks. Why didn't it explode? It's not a vampire, you mutter. Anyway, now the golem knows you're here. The golem brings down its fist, shattering the rock in front of you. The golem reaches down, trying to scoop you up. You leap away. Its fingers almost close around you, but you duck out of the way. Shoot golem. You fire again, into its glowing eyes. Its head jerks back. When it looks back down, one of its eyes has gone dark. The golem kicks you, knocking you against the wall. The golem reaches down, trying to scoop you up, but you leap away. Shoot golem. You take careful aim at its remaining eye and fire. The bullet connects. The golem collapses, the stones of its body falling apart from each other. You and Melix rush to the edges of the room as boulders roll across the floor. When the dust settles, you notice a metal crank protruding from the rubble. Let's examine that crank. A bent metal bar with a handle on one end. So, but then, was it magical or mechanical? Melix asks. Could be both, you say. Let's take that crank. I seem to recall needing one from our earlier adventuring. Examine the rubble. Someone might think an entirely unremarkable rock slide happened here. Okay. Floor here is not implemented. Let's go ahead and continue to the west. Oh. To the boudoir of Ate. I don't mind seeing Kozan and Victor go. The Queen of Vampires takes a sip from her goblet. In the mirrored wall behind her, dark blood swirls down an invisible throat. They were dull. Migrim, though, I sort of liked, and that golem was expensive. So I expect we're going to be fighting here pretty quickly, but Ate is here. Oh, well, okay. Did not get to do much there. I would have liked to try talking to her, but, yeah, no luck. At least now I know how a skinny little minx like you could take down a brilliant vampiress like Urimadon. Tried to talk, no luck. She dissolves into pink fog, flurries past your face. Now she's standing behind you. You cheat, Scrooge. You're not strong. Your little magic gun is. Her eyes glitter, and you are rooted to the spot. Someone needs to teach you how to behave. I'll make an example of you for every other human imbecile who wants to be a vampire slayer. For your little friend here. She reaches at Melix. Her long fingernails graze his neck. And I'll make it good. A real work of art. For the most wretched insect on the face of the planet, I promise the most wretched torture I can devise. She melts into mist again, drifts into the darkness. Until then, Ebenezer Scrooge. Well, that could have gone better. Here we are in the archway to the boudoir of Ate. Ate's throne is a black chaise-longue atop a terraced platform. All around are sofas and cushions for her vampire subjects to sprawl out on. A carved archway leads east. The far wall is one huge mirror. Black leather studded with pearls. The sofas are all empty. This place seems set up to host a lot more than 4 vampires, Melix notes. Fair enough. Let's examine the mirror. The mirror is huge. You have no idea how it got here. You and Melix eye each other's reflections. Maybe he was wondering the same thing you were. Perhaps, but we should enter it all the same. The mirror ruffles like a curtain as you and Melix step confidently inside. SPS Forfex 3961, Port Dactyl. A rust-colored planet fills the port windows. On the starboard side, you can see some other part of the ship. Straight ahead are the depths of space. All of the consoles here are abandoned. One of them is on fire. The way out is aft. Try to examine the burning console. The fire is... Oh, right, it's burning. It should do... Yeah, enter mirror. We examine the consoles that aren't on fire. They seem to be in perfect working order. Examine the planet. Streaks of yellow run across the planet's surface. You wonder if they're dust storms. Examine the ship. It looks very similar to the part of the ship you're standing in now. Okay. Depths of space. We examined the depths of the sea earlier. You don't know any of these stars, but the blackness beyond is immediately recognizable. Okay, well, guess we need to go starboard. Oh, excuse me, the way out is aft. We get to the lounge. Hey, trespassers! A repto-insectoid scuttles toward you, brandishing a walkie-talkie. Security, this is Morale Enforcer Blair. All personnel report to the lounge for immediate vaporization of pathetic human intruders. I promise we're only passing through, you say. The Morale Enforcer squints at you. Time passes. Where's all the security personnel? Asks Melix. Finally, Blur throws up his arms in defeat. They're not coming. Nobody here listens to me. The grubby lounge has very few appointments. All that sticks out are a vending machine and a shelf of board games. Passages lead fore and aft starboard. Examine him. No. Morale Enforcer. Let's examine the Enforcer. Blurt has 4 eyes, 4 segmented legs, and a pointy beak-like snout. His torso is basically humanoid, or maybe reptonic. His arms are folded petulantly over his chest. Okay. Let's talk to him. We really don't mean any harm, you tell him. He rolls his eyes. Let's show him the crank. He doesn't want to talk to you about the metal crank. Balloon? Nor the balloon. Nor the amulet. Well, okay. He doesn't want to talk about things. Let's examine the vending machine. The snacks in the vending machine do not look appealing. Some of them are clearly still alive. Another food item looks more like a bundle of white sticks. Okay. Interesting. Let's examine the shelf. Among so many beat-up boxes labeled in so many unrecognizable languages, you notice 2 different incomplete Uno decks. Well, fair enough. I don't know if it's because of having played this game, but my natural assumption anytime I see an Uno deck is that it is obviously incomplete. Let's head aft starboard. Yes. We go aft starboard. Charts and equations cover the walls. Passages lead starboard and fore port. Another repto-insectoid stands at the lab table. Hey, it's the intruders, she says. I'm Schnurr. Nice to meet you. I guess Blurt already gave you the traditional space pirate welcome? It's a pleasure to meet you, too, you say. I'm Ebenezabeth, and this is Melix. I'm afraid I don't think we could pronounce your names. Oh, a lot of humans have trouble with that. Let me teach you my little trick. Schnurr teaches you her little trick. Wow, Melix cries. Thanks, Schmert. It's my pleasure, she insists. Anyway, make yourselves at home. I have not learned her little trick, obviously, so I'm just making sounds, and I don't even think I'm making consistent sounds at that, but, you know, I'm having fun, so that's what's important. Let's talk to her further. I don't think you can actually just copy. Yeah, unfortunately, the parser is not smart enough to recognize those characters. But it would be fun if it did, but that's probably too much trouble. Okay, yeah. I'm struggling with pronouns in this game for some reason. The repto-insectoid. Green and scaly from the waist up, arthropod-esque from the waist down. You'd have trouble telling her apart from Blurt, except that her expression is much friendlier. Now we talk to her. So, what's your role in this crew? Asked Melix. I'm the ship's scientist. My specialization is theoretical cosmology, but I also have to handle, heavy sigh, everything else. Right. Talk to her. What does your work in theoretical cosmology entail? It's kind of hard to explain. One of the questions I'd like to be working on is, what was there before there was a universe, if that makes sense? You nod. Actually, I visited before the universe not too long ago. You tell Schnurr all about it as she takes careful notes. Wow, she says. This is really useful. Thanks. I really wish I could start doing something with the data you gave me, Schnurrt says, but I'm kind of preoccupied with the state of the crew. The captain isn't doing her job, so neither is anybody else, and I'm stuck in the middle. Have you talked to the captain about this? Asks Melix. She clicks her beak. I don't have the... What's the human word? Intestines. No guts. Okay. No glory. Let's look further. Science Antrim. Charts and equations cover the walls. Let's check those out. Most of Schnurt's work goes way over your head, but her chronomechanical diagrams are a little bit familiar. One seems to depict several volatile slices of meta-time collapsing into a sort of whirlpool. Okay. Well, let's examine the table. There's nothing on the table but Schnurt's elbows and claws, but it seems to be vital to her process anyhow. Our exits... Oh, I wonder. I have not been making use of in-game hints very much, and I think I need to do that if I get stuck the way I had gotten stuck a couple times in the last game. And I want to say I saw that this... Yeah. So, Ryan's games oftentimes have very good hints in them, and I want to make a point to make more use of them, because I really admire that kind of attention to detail and adaptive assistance. So one of the commands that stuck out at me as an unusual choice was status as a way of finding what you need to be doing. And I really like that. So I'm probably going to use status if I need to figure out how to proceed. In our current situation, we just keep exploring until you find that statue and don't lose track of that dolly. So we were correct in our instinct to grab that on our way out of the treehouse, and we continue to explore. So let's look. And our exits are starboard and foreport. We came from foreport, so we go starboard now. To the security antrum. The path through the ship leads port and forestarboard from this chamber. Behind a window high on the wall, another space pirate watches you enter with a sinister grin. We're the intruders, Melix says, but it's okay. Schnurrt will vouch for us. Oh, I know all about it, the security enforcer sneers, and it suits my purposes to let you traipse around the ship for the moment. But, Melix cuts in, but if we step out of line, you'll come down on us so hard we'll wish we were in something. The guard's nostrils, if that's what they are, flare, and his left eyes twitch. Examine the guard. You can only see his face. His expression is grumpy. Talk to him. We're Melix and Ebenezabeth, Melix says. I'm well aware, says the security enforcer. What's your name? Melix asks. That's Classified. Nice to meet you, Classified. Let's look around. Check out that window. I think it might be like a 3D two-way screen, Melix says. Okay. Not sure why okay is my expression of choice when I am trying to assess the situation and decide how to proceed, but that has become quite overused in the short time I've been playing this game. Let's go ahead and walk for starboard to biohazard containment. A huge black cylinder towers over you, separated from the walkway by a simple railing. The walkway leads fore and aft port. A voice comes from the cylinder. Hey, who's there? Let's talk to cylinder. Hello? You call out. Hello? The voice resonates strangely. It doesn't sound like a space pirate. Hey, let me out. Who are you? Asks Melix. Who are you? The voice calls back. I asked you first. You absolutely did not? I asked you who you were the second I heard you come in. Melix looks at you sheepishly. Let's examine the cylinder. Rivets line the panels of the giant tank. It's not clear which side is supposed to open, if it's ever supposed to open. We talk to the cylinder again. Well, the voice demands. Melix mouths some words at you and jerks his head toward the exit. So we could just peace out, I guess. Let's look around some more. Can we open the cylinder? You wouldn't know how to start doing that, even if you thought it was a good idea. I guess we're going to leave the cylinder alone. Let's go ahead and continue 4 to the starboard pollux. The mirror image of the port dactyl, except that the consoles are strewn with dirty clothes, half-eaten foodstuffs, and unidentifiable garbage. None of them are on fire, though. A space pirate wearing a red sash is crouching under a portable sink. "Halt, how dare you," she mutters. You introduce yourself in Melix. "Are you the crew's captain?" you ask. "I guess. If they haven't mutinied already, they all hate me." She scuttles out from under the sink. "Captain Chlerk, SPS Forfex, you're under arrest. Security to the starboard pollux." No response. "See, nobody listens to me." "Sorry," says Melix. "We'll try to stay out of your way." The captain nods sadly and slumps against her portable sink. We examine the captain. Her bright red sash doesn't match her defeated demeanor. "We'll talk to the captain." Melix touches your shoulder. "She needs some alone time," he tells you. Fair enough. We leave the captain alone and instead examine the consoles. None of these consoles are turned on. Examine the clothes. The captain's wardrobe has been tossed all over the place. Foodstuffs? The space pirate food is so unappetizing, you wonder how she ate any of it in the first place. And the garbage. There's trash all over the place. Some of it must be food packaging from the vending machine. All right, well, we should check out that sink, I guess. The sink itself is fairly gross, but it's probably better than not having one. A dirty mirror is mounted over the basin. Well, I think we need to touch that basin. I can recall having a debate with my spouse about the proper pronunciation of basin. I pronounce it with a voiced S. She pronounces, I'm pretty sure she pronounced it basin. So with a silent S sound, an unvoiced S sound. And I thought that was quite strange. But let's go ahead and check out these windows before we go. Most of the walls in here are transparent from floor to ceiling. You hope they're made of something stronger than glass. And we'll examine the mirror. It's smeared with gook. Touch mirror. Melix gingerly touches the cleanest part of the mirror. Ashen veil. Gully. Steep walls of gray dust rise on either side. The sky is black. Huh. Melix looks around uncertainly. Have you been here before? I think so, you say. Once. Very briefly. The gully runs from southeast to northwest, but the way southeast is blocked by a burning jeep. So that gives us a sense of the time span we're dealing with. This is clearly not a prehistoric ashen veil. We examine the jeep. How on earth did this get here? That's not important, the fire says, as it carries you away. Back to the SPS Forfex. Let's go ahead and touch that mirror once more. We weren't ready to move here. Let's examine the gully. The sides of the canyon are covered in a fine powder, the color of asphalt. And the sky? It must be the middle of the night. The walls. The side... Oh, yeah, the walls are the same. Okay. Well, we can't go any further to the southeast, so we must need to go northwest. To ruins. Toppled walls and crumbled towers litter the dusty floor. A single clear path winds back and forth between the stones, slowly following the curve of the canyon from southeast to southwest. Do you like working for him? Asks Melix. Eventually you realize he means the Pope. He's fine. I just don't want him to start relying on me, you say. I'm not interested in becoming his favorite assistant. My mom taught me about the dangers of being too good at your job, Melix says. About becoming indispensable. He shakes his head. But this is the 6th or 7th mission that Pius has sent me on. Well, that's troubling. Let's examine the ruins. There's no trace of any foundation, no sign that a castle was ever built here. It's as if the ruins fell right out of the sky. Okay. Well, in that case, let's just go ahead and continue to the southwest. The puddle. The path runs past a long pond filled with glistening beige liquid. The canyon continues northeast and southeast. A very old leather journal lies in the dust at your feet. Well, this is immediately got my attention. Journals are always a big deal. Take it, open it, read it. The first page of the journal reads, "The function of the artist is to create art. The function of art is to communicate meaning, meaning that cannot be communicated in the feeble language of non-art. The duty of the artist, therefore, is to seek out this meaning. The artist contemplates flowers, he observes mankind and his foibles, he stares up into the Milky Way, wishes and prays for meaning to appear. When true meaning reveals itself, the artist will take up his tools and encapsulate that meaning in art. Meantime, the artist practices at his craft, hones his tools, nourishes his talent, but never does he exhibit his attempts. His imperfect exercises are not art. They are empty shells and ought to be destroyed. The artist's friends tell him he is wasting his talent. Well, they are stupid." There is more on the next page. You go on reading. "The artist is in love. He has seen true beauty walk the earth in human form. He has touched her hand. He has smelled the perfume of her hair. The artist's friends say, 'This is a cliché. When you put someone on a pedestal like this, you set yourself up for disappointment.' The artist has already said, the artist's friends are stupid. But it is not their fault. Everybody is born stupid. The function of art is to enlighten such benightedness. The artist will immortalize beauty, preserve her perfection, hand her gift down to posterity. At last, meaning unfurls her silken petals, reveals her truth to the artist. The purpose of the artist's life has finally come into focus." This is the second time we've encountered someone who says that people are born stupid or something to that effect. Is this Sachimaeus, the astrologer from the forest, the treehouse? It doesn't seem likely, but we can't rule that possibility out. Because I don't feel like Sachimaeus really envisioned herself as an artist, but there are some definite parallels here between these two characters, assuming this is a different character. Let's read the next page. "The artist finished his work, showed it to his muse. She rejected the artist. She called him an idiot. The artist really was setting himself up for a fall. He was blinded by the desire to find his purpose. He would have fallen for anything, for anybody. Now the artist's friends insist that the work itself is amazing. They say it is real beauty. They say it tells them something they didn't know before. Well, guess what? The artist's friends are morons. The work is built on a flawed premise. Its lessons are the fruits of a poisonous vine. The artist has hidden this false beauty away. It will not contaminate any more eyes." On the other hand, it might also be that the artist's muse was Sachimaeus. If I'm saying her name right, I don't really remember. But anyway, let's just read the next page. "The artist, now ex-artist, and one of his idiot friends went out and got drunk. They picked up a couple of farmer girls and had all the fun they could think of. The artist woke up in the morning and realized what a revolting excuse for a man he had been. He had been a heathen, worshipping carved idols of beauty and art and earthly meaning. He had devoted his life to the construction of falsehoods. He had cultivated the skills of a charlatan. He had wasted God's gift of life. The ex-artist has thrown away the tools of his vile vocation and is asking around about how to join a monastic order." There's more on the next page. You go on reading. "The monk is happy. He prays every morning. He carries water for the other monks. He prays every evening. He does not think about art. The monk is not actually happy. That would be a sin. The monk is merely fine." There's more on the next page. You go on reading. "The monk ran into one of his idiot friends from his former life. "What the heck is wrong with you?" said the old friend. "You are an amazing artist. You could have given so much to the world, but you denied yourself. You threw away every talent that was given to you. You destroyed everything that you had worked for. You ignored your friends who went on encouraging you, no matter how many times you called them stupid to their faces. And now you say you devote yourself to God? How can you claim to serve God when you've thrown his gifts back at him over and over again?" Now that the monk writes this down, he's starting to see that his old friend may have had a point. Oh no, the monk really has been stupid. Lord, forgive your creation for his idiocy. What can he do to redeem his wasted life? Oh, this is awful. The monk's wasted life is flashing before his eyes. It's all here in this journal. Well, first, the monk, soon, hopefully, ex-monk, will throw this journal down a well. Then, hopefully, he'll figure something out. Hopefully. The rest of the journal is blank. So I really love these journals. Anytime we come across one, they're some of my favorite parts of these games. They are a blast every time. 100% awesome. I love them. Let's keep going. We're at the puddle. The path runs past a long pond filled with glistening beige liquid. That's troubling. We examine the pond. It looks viscous. Okay, well, now we go southeast, I guess, to piles. The valley widens a bit to accommodate a pile of dead flowers, a pile of empty bottles, a pile of luggage, a pile of napkins, and a pile of dead butterflies. The canyon continues southeast and northwest. We're getting some really troubling imagery now. Let's continue examining the pile of dead flowers. A few faded pink and lavender petals stick out at you, but the flowers are mostly brown, crumbling into nothing. Bottles. Thousands of glass bottles. 1,000 more shards of broken glass. And the luggage. This is the tallest of the piles, an immense mound of suitcases, purses, and duffel bags. Napkins. Most of them are white cocktail napkins. All of them have something scribbled on them, e.g., religion where daring people to do stuff is considered a sin. Let's read a napkin. Nice people forced to be mean to mean people. We can't just again, or I would totally just hit again a bunch of times. Oh, right, I can just push up to refill that command. Face transplant, face of a murderer or obnoxious person. Worm gear, earworm, diet of worms, conqueror worm, cut worm forgives the plow. Shades of Doki Doki Literature Club. How much does this weigh? A dog with horse's hooves. Talk show, interviewee reveals secret identity. Nice people forced to be mean to mean people. Wine tasting. A car horn that makes a vroom vroom noise. The other thing this reminds me of, a whole bunch of weird little ideas written down in a place that is somewhat unsettling, is Davey Wreden's The Beginner's Guide, which is a game I especially enjoyed as well. I really liked all of the little thoughts encapsulated in the room full of ideas, which feels very reminiscent of this pile of napkins. Basketball, closketball? Nice people. Okay, yeah, we're getting repeats now. Okay, I guess let's continue our string of examinations. Let's look at the butterflies. The pile of butterflies is considerably smaller than the others. The poor creatures are all flattened and desiccated. That is basically everything in the valley, so we should now go southeast to miscellaneous. A bulky stone statue stands here where the valley turns northwest to southwest. A rainbow bridge sparkles softly. A rusted can lies in the gray dust. A very wet book lies nearby. You can also see a cracked wooden spoon here. That is a collection of objects. Rainbow bridge. The glittering rainbow seems very sturdy, and it's small enough to carry without too much trouble. That is really blatant, but let's go ahead and take it. Okay. Mimix offers to help carry the bridge, but it turns out to be much lighter than either of you expected. You can handle it yourself. On the other hand, if we're carrying both the dolly and the rainbow bridge, it does feel like one of us should carry one should carry the other, but that's fine. The can, it's rusted right through. Can we take it? There's no point to picking up this can. It reminds me of the can from the original Little Match Girl game. Let's examine the wet book. The book is heavily damaged by water. You examine it very carefully. Most of the pages are stuck together, but the last page is still legible. I have graven it within the hills, and my vengeance upon the dust within the rock. Huh. Okay. And the cracked wooden spoon. We take the soaked book. Examine the spoon. A large wooden spoon with a long crack running down its bowl. I try to take it. You can see no reason to pick up the wooden spoon. It seems like the sort of thing that couldn't possibly be of any use to anyone, especially marred as it is by that crack. Melix feels the same way. So you leave the spoon alone. All right. That just leaves nothing else here except for the bulky stone statue. It's a humanoid figure, arms raised in front of its face, or where its face should be. Its head is a featureless sphere of stone. We came from the northwest. Let's go to the southwest. To the information desk? At the end of the ravine is a sort of reception counter staffed by an array of computer monitors. The way back is northeast. We examine the monitors. Melix trots up ahead of you. Hello? He calls. The screens come to life. A humanoid face, a map of the valley, a video feed of you and Melix. Good evening, says the computer. How can you be helped? Good evening yourself. I'm looking for a marble statue from about 1500 AD. We're here to return it to the Vatican collection. Images flit across the screens. Please wait. We appreciate your... Okay, I found it. The computer twists its display so that it can point you to the northwest. Your item is in the cave to the northwest. Thank you. No, thank you, says Melix, and he turns to give you a big grin. I'm going to talk to the computer some more. Is there anything else I can help you with this evening? Asks the face. I don't think so. Thank you so very much, you say, with a little bow. The face smiles. I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Is there anything else I can help you with this evening? I guess there's no point wasting energy being polite if the computer is just an unintelligent object. Let's examine the map. One screen is a patient face waiting to follow your orders. One screen is a security feed politely informing you that you're being watched. Another is a map of the canyon. It looks roughly the way you were expecting based on how much turning back and forth you've been doing. I wonder. I would like to pull up my map. Here we go. Let's go to this screen. Pope Pius IX. Here we go. Okay. This... Oh, okay. Yeah. Huh. That is a shape, all right. Okay, let's go now to the northwest, where the... Let's examine the desk first. Okay, yeah, it's just the same thing. We go to the cave to the northwest. Not much of a cave, just a hole in the wall. The way out is southeast. A marble statue of a sprightly nude woman is here. We examine the statue. Before you can act, the statue speaks. You've done well to find me, she says. Her lips do not move. I've waited a long time. Yes, I'm the statue that the Holy Father asked you to bring back to the Vatican. And do I guess correctly that you grant wishes? Asks Melix. Her expression doesn't change. That's true, she says, but not until I am returned to my rightful place. Well, clearly we need to continue talking to the statue. How did you end up here? You ask the statue. I was lost, she says airily. Okay. We have more to say? No, we don't have more to say. Now we examine the statue. Her pose and expression are full of life, but she is obviously solid marble, obviously a creation of human hands, even if she does talk. Well, we've been carrying it this far for a good reason. We put the statue on the dolly. You reach for the statue. Hold on, Melix says. Put that dolly down first. Fair enough. We drop the dolly. Now we put the statue on the dolly. Okay, let's be careful, Melix says, and he helps you lift the statue onto the dolly. Then he produces the bungee cords and sets about securing it in place. Looks good? He asks. You give the statue an experimental push. It doesn't fall over. Looks good. Can we show things to the statue? No. It doesn't look like she'll even look at them. Right. Okay, yes. We have come where we need to. Let us push statue southeast. Push the dolly southeast. And we are once again at the information desk. Talk to the computer. No, nothing more there. So let us push the statue to the northeast. Miscellaneous. A bulky stone statue stands here where the valley turns northwest to southwest. A rusted can lies in the gray dust. You can also see a cracked wooden spoon here. The dolly rolls to a stop. I've been wondering, Melix says to the marble statue. Who sculpted you? Do you remember? His name is lost, says the statue. Melix nods, takes out a little notebook, and scribbles something down. We push the dolly northwest, to piles. The valley widens a bit to accommodate a pile of dead flowers, a pile of empty bottles, a pile of luggage, a pile of napkins, and a pile of dead butterflies. The canyon continues southeast to northwest. The dolly rolls to a stop. Were you commissioned by the Pope? Melix asks. No, says the statue. But this is enough to make Melix write down something else in his notebook. Ooh, that's not. Push dolly northwest to puddle. The path runs past a long pond filled with glistening beige liquid. The canyon continues northeast to southeast. The dolly rolls to a stop. And how did you get here? Melix asks the statue. I was lost, the statue explains. Melix makes another note. Now we push the dolly northeast to the ruins. The dolly rolls to a stop. Have you always been able to talk? The statue doesn't answer right away. I have not always known, she says haltingly, known what I am. Melix looks at you meaningfully before scribbling some more in his notebook. Push the dolly southeast to Gully. No further comments from the statue and Melix. So, now we examine the Jeep. How on earth did this get here? That's not important, the flyer says as it carries you away to the SPS Forfex 3961. Okay. Here's the captain. Yeah, okay, we leave the captain alone. We need to push dolly aft to biohazard containment. And now to aft port to the security antrum. The path through the ship leads port for starboard from this chamber. The enforcer is observing you from his observation window high on the wall. Nope, the guard announces, and a containment membrane falls over the statue. That looks expensive. I'm taking it. Oh, come on! Melix tries pulling off the membrane. Then he tries cutting it with his sword. Nothing much happens. The security enforcer just laughs. Well, that's no good. Examine the membrane. You're not sure if it's physical or photonic or what. It's stuck to the statue good, whatever it is. Talk to the statue again. We'll get you out of this, you tell the statue. She doesn't respond. Talk to the guard. How can we convince you to give us our statue back? Melix asks. I'd be willing to trade, says the security enforcer, for something of equal or greater value. Okay. Well, we do have that amulet. Show the amulet to the guard. Will you take this in exchange for the statue? You raise the amulet toward the window. The guard squints at the jewels. He consults something on a monitor you can't see. Deal. Stand by. A metal claw on a telescoping arm descends from the ceiling, plucks the amulet out of your hand, and carries it away. The guard taps something, and the containment membrane disappears. Pleasure doing business with you, Melix grouses. If we talk to the guard again. So, what kinds of stuff have you guys been pirating lately? Asks Melix. That's classified. Okay, well, fair enough. We should push the statue port to the science antrim. Oh, here we go. Charts and equations cover the walls. Passages lead starboard and foreport. Your new space pirate friend, Schnurr, stands at a lab table, drumming her claws, trying to think. Is this the statue that Blurt was giving you a hard time about? She asks. Yes, you tell her. We're escorting it to the Vatican. I'm sorry. I wanted to go in there and tell him to knock it off, but... Don't worry about it, says Melix. You've got your own stuff to deal with. I still feel bad, so let me give you something so I won't feel bad. She rummages under her table and presents you with what looks like a laser rifle. Close. It's a cloaking beam. Whatever you fire it at disappears. The effect only lasts for a couple minutes, though, and the operating range isn't that far. Still, amazing. Thank you, Melix says. Sounds like exactly your sort of thing, Ebenezer. So Schnurr hands it to you. We have a cloaking beam. The cloaking beam looks very much like some sort of weapon, but it's harmless, you hope. Excuse me a moment. I need to cough. All right, so let's test it out. We look, typing once again in the correct window, we look. We shoot the dolly with the beam. To push the statue around safely, you need to be able to see the dolly. Okay, well, let's try shooting the table with the beam. You fire the cloaking beam at the lab table, and it vanishes. Okay, yeah. So now that we've caused the lab table to vanish, your new space pirate friend, Schnurr, stands at an invisible lab table, drumming her claws, trying to think. So we now have the ability to turn things invisible, which is very cool. And I suspect will prove quite useful in areas to come. We should push the dolly. We should talk to our friend first. Let me know if there's anything I can help you with, she says, even though she's already opened up about not being able to handle everything that's already bothering her. All right, well, good for her for trying to take on more than she can. Let's go ahead and push this dolly foreport. Morale Enforcer Blank, he's here, still here, monitoring your behavior sulkily. The Grubby Lounge has very few appointments. All that sticks out are a vending machine and a shelf of board games. Passages lead fore and aft starboard. Talk to the Enforcer one last time. He might be too upset to talk to you. So, push the dolly forward. To Port Dactyl. A rust-colored planet fills the port windows. On the starboard side, the ship's pollux is visible, straight ahead of the depths of space. All of the consoles here are abandoned. One of them is on fire. The way out is aft. Let us look at this burning console. The fire isn't spreading. It's staying right where it is, waiting for you. To Schwarzgalley Caverns, 1929, the Boudoir of Ate. And I'm very glad that despite this being such cavernous terrain, we apparently have a very smooth floor to push our dolly up. So push dolly up. Oh, excuse me. Push dolly east to the archway. We've got a smoothed spiral slope leading up to the banquet hall. And there's that golem. Dolly up to the banquet hall. And the icy cave is west from here. Push dolly west to the ice cave. Icy cave. An icicle hangs from each stalactite. I was trying to look at stalactites earlier, but I was in the wrong room for it. Let's look at the stalactites here. It's as if the icicles were specially sculpted to replace all the stalactite ends that tourists have snapped off and stolen away. Maybe our frost vampire was doing that before we turned him to ash. Let's go ahead and push dolly up the slope to the string of electric lights where we had our showdown. The caves continue downward. The way out is east. Push dolly east to the gateway. The mouth of the cave is boarded over. So I just want to take a moment here and just say how jazzed I was when I realized that we had to travel all this way to find the statue, and then we were going to have to push the statue all the way back the way we came, overcoming different puzzles on the way back out in many cases. This was one of the really clever structural designs that makes me really admire the Little Match Girl games. These really have very simple but effective structures a lot of the time that I take for granted and really appreciate when I get the chance to see them laid out like this and performing their purpose so admirably. Let's go ahead and push our dolly to the... Oh, no further. We're at the gateway. We need to examine the bonfire now. You can't quite see the bonfire directly, but you can see it well enough, and it can see you. Back to Pico de Fogo, 1717. We are at the treasure hoard. Arm's collection includes a copper bathtub, a Baroque dressing table, an electrum statue of a wolf, a sundial, a set of painted vases, and a large silver bird cage. An oblong opening in the south wall forms a sort of window. Let's examine that window. You stand next to Melix and look through the window. Sure, you say. See, there's the tunnel, and that's the path we took over the lava. We're just higher up than we expected. The rock beneath you creaks. The chamber falls apart. The floor gives out, the wall turns sideways. You push Melix away. Lava splashes all around you. Then things stop moving, and you stand up. Lava pool. You landed on the path instead of in the lava. Melix scrambles down the fallen rocks to your side. I can't believe you survived that. Are you okay? I think a little bit spattered on my arm, you tell him. It actually hurts a lot. I'll be okay. Great. Awesome. He sighs loudly as if reacting for the both of you. Thanks for saving my life. Of course. So here we are in a lava pool. A smooth path between pools of lava runs from south to northeast, but there's also that pile of razor-sharp fallen rock that leads north to the treasure hoard. I forgot about this little section of the area. So there's a path from the south to the northeast and north to the treasure hoard. We go north. And we push the dolly south. The dolly will not go down that slope. Okay. Well, the safe way out is southeast. Right. The south wall has fallen away, forming an additional highly perilous exit. Yes. Well, let's push Dolly southeast then to the tall chamber. Garm guards a choke point between the northwest and southwest tunnels, keeping one eye on you, one eye on Melix. Garm slithers up to the statue. Where do you think you're going with this? He asks. The Pope, Melix explains. She's from the Vatican's collection. I think not, Garm says. This lovely piece is part of my collection. He runs his claws over her curves. No, 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 says Melix. We brought her here, from Germany. Yes, yes, yes. You brought her here, into my volcano, so she's mine. Let's talk to Garm. I wish I could get you something to drink, Garm says, but I don't have anything to drink. That's fine, Melix pants. Not a problem. You've got to get him to somewhere cooler. Can we just push the dolly southeast? Southwest, I should say. Garm slips between you and the exit. You're not going anywhere with my statue, he says. Except back into my gallery, if you please. Fine, fair enough, Garm. We'll go ahead and push the dolly northwest then. And now, clearly we need to shoot the statue with the beam. You fire the cloaking beam at the marble statue, and she blinks out of sight. Push dolly southeast. Garm seems a bit confused at how much effort you're putting into pushing that dolly, but he's too polite to say anything about it. It's very generous of him. Thank you, Garm, for your polite omission here while we struggle with this clearly empty dolly. We'll push the dolly southwest now to the lava pool. Here's the small path between pools of lava, runs from south to northeast, but there's also that pile of razor-sharp fallen rock that leads north to the treasure hoard. We are going to push the dolly south from here. The walls are rough stone, razor-sharp in places. A hot, dry current of air, stinking of sulfur, blows from the passage to the north and out of the natural chimney overhead. A sputtering flame issues from a crack in the floor. The dolly rolls to a stop. We examine the fumarole. The gas burning above the fumarole is almost invisible, but you can see it. You know it's strong enough to help both you and Melix, and it dutifully carries you away to the floating palace of Eros, to the boudoir of Psyche. Let's talk to our statue again. Don't worry, you say. We'll get you to the Vatican safe and sound, which I think is the same thing as we've said for a while now. Okay, so here we are on a cloud. And there's a cloud to the west, and it's a short jump to the west. I don't think we can push dolly west. You can't push the dolly across the empty space between clouds. But we did get something recently. A rainbow bridge. The glittering rainbow seems very sturdy, and it's small enough to carry without too much trouble. Put bridge on empty space. You set down the rainbow bridge, connecting this cloud to the next. Push dolly west. You push the dolly west, to the bedchamber of Eros. At this end of the cloud, a large marble bed is covered by a diaphanous canopy, underneath which a couple of winged silhouettes are tussling. The throne room lies to the south. The rainbow bridge connects this cloud to the one east from here. The dolly rolls to a stop. The business going on under the canopy pauses, very briefly, before picking up again. It's a canopy on... Yeah, okay, the canopy is part of the bed. Yep, okay. Take bridge. Push dolly south. Throne room. The marble throne of Eros is empty. Zeus is pacing back and forth in front of it, arms folded over his gigantic chest. Zeus stomps over as soon as he sees the statue. Where are you taking that? He demands. The Vatican, Rome, Melix says, as he tries to push the dolly around the interloper. Zeus takes a step to the side, blocking the way. You would dare ransack the palace of a god, of the grandson of Zeus, the avenger of wrongs? Zeus, the king of gods and men? Melix steps forward. We're not your subjects, he says. You don't control our lives. You don't scare us. A vein throbs in Zeus's forehead. The clouds around you are darkening, rumbling. Melix doesn't seem to notice. While you're sipping milk and honey and waiting for sacrifices, you pull him back. This isn't Eros' statue, you tell Zeus. Look at it. Does it look Greek? Zeus leans down to inspect the work. He says. No, this is a gaudy imitation, an airy ideal with no grounding in reality. And I'm cut from Carrara marble, the statue adds. Zeus leaps back. He snorts in frustration, and the cloud quakes beneath you. Get it out of my sight, he barks. Oh, Zeus. Always so much trouble every time you rear your head. Push dolly south to the anteroom. This cloud stretches off to the north, but the marble columns make it clear that this section right here is supposed to be its own area. A waiting area, maybe. The other cloud is a short jump to the east. The dolly rolls to a stop. Sorry about that, says Melix. I'll simmer down. I've had to deal with Zeus before, you tell him. You can't force your way past him. Or you have to use a different kind of force. Right. Melix considers this for a moment. Then he jots something down in his notebook. I tried to examine the notebook. Melix has already stuffed the notebook back in his pocket. Put bridge on gap. You set down the rainbow bridge, connecting this cloud to the next. Push dolly east to the conversation pit. I don't think we need the bridge further, but I'm going to go ahead and take it anyway. We are back in the conversation pit. And there is a ring of marble couches covered in silk pillows surrounds the hearth. Right, we examine the hearth. You look into the fire. You close your eyes, but the fire is still with you, and it takes you to Indian Ocean, 1953. The cave where we had that skeletal merfolk. Let's push dolly west. So something I have not been doing. You can use that invisibility beam on a wide variety of objects and scenery items for a variety of interesting and noteworthy effects. I played around with it a lot last time. I'm kind of on a little bit of a time crunch here, so I'm just kind of rolling through right to the end, but I do have to say that it is one of the more rewarding items you can find in these games, and I highly recommend playing the game yourself so that you can experience it for yourself. It's very cool. Let's see here. Since we're at the bottom of the cliff, I can't remember if you can actually go into the skeleton, but I don't really want to because it's rather morbid. Let us push dolly up. The path up the cliff is far too narrow for the dolly. So, there is something we have that might help. We have a balloon. We tie the balloon to dolly. You see no good way of tying the balloon to the dolly. Tie balloon to statue. You tie the balloon string securely around the marble statue. The balloon immediately rises out of sight, pulling the marble statue free from the bungee cords and carrying it into the darkness above. Well, we better go ahead and take the dolly then, and go up the side of the cliff. The ledge zigzags up and down the cliff. The visibility down here is very poor. You have to shuffle along to be sure of your footing. Let's go up again to the cliff's edge. The cliff would afford a breathtaking view of the ocean's depths if sunlight would reach just a little farther. Here's the narrow shelf, the shipwreck off to the east. You can see a marble statue here. The balloon is floating above the marble statue. With Melix's help, you pull the floating statue to solid ground and re-secure it to the dolly. Let's take the balloon and let's push dolly east. To the ghost. Talk to the ghost. Maddox coughs. Forgot what I were about to say, he mutters. All right, fair enough, ghost. Let us examine his lantern. You stare into the spectral flame, and it carries you far away. To Fresno County, 2506, to the laboratory. Here's that woman again. Let's go ahead and talk to the woman. All right, let's try this. Shoot orrery with the beam. You don't want to provoke Setchemaus. Setchemaus? Whatever. Let's go ahead and push Dolly west to the treehouse. And let's push Dolly onto elevator. We load the Dolly onto the elevator. Put crank in winch. You pop the square into the crank into the square hole of the winch. It fits perfectly. The wind changes direction and you feel much warmer. The snow ceases. The forest erupts in green. Turn crank. You turn the crank. Some fancy arrangement of pulleys must be engaging somewhere because the elevator is descending to the forest floor very smoothly and easily. And now it's out of sight. Oh, turning crank again just brings it back to its original position. So let's turn the crank one last time. And we'll go down to the stairs. Okay. We are not all the way down. Let's go down once more. We have reached the campsite. We unload the dolly from the elevator. And there's the small campfire. You can examine the rocks. The arrangement of rocks around the fire pit is more visually pleasing than it is really effective in fire containment turns, but it should be fine for the time being. A cold wind rushes through the leafless forest, carrying with it wisps of snow. Well, let's go ahead and get out of here then. Let's examine the campfire. You focus on the dancing flame, and it carries you and Melix away to Rome, 1848. Okay. You focus on the dancing flame. Rome, 1848. Crypt. Ebenezabeth and Melix stood in one of the Capuchin crypts, a tall chamber lined with hundreds upon hundreds of ancient skulls. The Pope, in his shining robes, stood out very starkly against such ghoulish environs, as did the tall mirror that had been erected in the center of the corridor. She could see a dolly, on which was a marble statue here. "Ah," said the Pope, rushing toward the statue, "this is her! Che bella! Come l'anima in volo!" "Your servants have done well," the statue replied. "Now that I am returned to my proper place, it is in my power to grant each of you one wish." But before we continue, I have to say, things are going to move very quickly from here, and I'm going to have to do a lot of commands in rapid succession to varying degrees of success, and then we'll have to come back through and read everything afterwards. But for right now, it's about to get very busy, I suspect. No, we've got one command, one line of text first. Melix rushed forward, pushing Ebenezabeth to the side. "I'll go first, if you don't mind. I wish to turn into a monster, a really monstrous monster, so I can strike fear into everybody's hearts and leave chaos in my wake. I have the specifics written up here." He raised his little notebook before the statue's eyes. And though the eyes were of stone, it seemed the statue took some time to read the scribbled notes, for only after a moment did she reply. "I will grant this, Melix. Your metamorphosis will begin at once." Then Melix groaned, and staggered to his knees, and from the crypt ceiling, or else out of thin air, a rain of glittering droplets began to fall over his body. The fluid clung to him like beads of molten silver. It covered his back, his legs, his hands, and now his face. When Pius IX had recovered from the shock of these events, he could only shake his head. "How discouraging to be betrayed so," he sighed. "I had such high hopes for him. I even thought the two of you might make a rather cute couple." Ebenezabeth, on the other hand, was not shocked. We cannot even say that she was surprised. More to herself than to the Holy Father, she muttered, "As soon as we found the statue, I started to—" But it was in this moment that the shell of liquid metal that had wrapped itself around Melix suddenly burst open. Here, now, was Melix transfigured. His eyes glowed with a dozen colors, his serpentine tongue lolled from a mouthful of fangs, and he unfurled prismatic wings that sparkled like 1,000 shards of glass, lighting up the catacomb walls and dazzling the Pope and Ebenezabeth. His skin gleamed like a mirror. It rippled when he moved like mercury. But the Pope and Ebenezer had little time to take this in, for as their sight returned to them, Melix quickly recovered from his transformation, and he launched himself out, straight through the crypt's wall, out into the open air. "Whose wish shall I grant next?" asked the statue. Ebenezer looked at the Pope. The Pope looked helplessly at Ebenezer. She took a deep breath. She rubbed her forehead. "Well," she said, pausing to take another deep breath, "it looks like I should wish for the power to stop Melix." "I will grant this, Ebenezer," said the statue, and a wreath of yellow flames formed in the air, encircling and enveloping the little girl. "You need only wait to continue the story, but you should save your game first." We save the game. Confrontation. Okie dokie. We examine the statue. All we can do at this juncture is wait for Ebenezer's transformation. Then we wait, and I'll get to you on the other side. Oh, boy. Okay, so there we have the climactic final confrontation between Ebenezer and Melix. So, we waited. As Ebenezer's body disappeared in the fire, Pius IX lowered his head and uttered a quiet prayer. Then the mass of flames dispersed, and before the Pope stood Ebenezer Scrooge. Her flaxen curls now flowed like a river of gold. Her eyes were golden pools, and a garland of golden roses hung around her neck. Her revolver glowed red-hot in her fist. Along its barrel were letters of pearl, and they read, "Invitus te Deixio." "I'll be right back," she told the Pope, and on wings of white flame she streaked through the hole that Melix had smashed through the wall. Flying. Yes, Ebenezer was flying. She soared over the towers of old Rome, her burning eyes turning this way and that, searching for Melix in his hideous new metallic form. There he was. Ebenezer flapped her wings and sped toward him, readying her revolver. Melix pointed down at the nearby Piazza Barberini. A jet of liquid metal flew from Melix's finger onto the old fountain of Triton. Shoot Melix. Ebenezer pulled the trigger of her blessed and transfigured Colt Patterson revolver, and a mighty burst of flame shot out of the barrel, enveloping Melix in light. But when the flames dispersed, Ebenezer saw that Melix had summoned 7 crystalline shields in all the colors of the rainbow to protect himself. Melix laughed and flew on, toward the Quirinal Palace. Melix paused and summoned a metallic snake. He flung it at Ebenezer. Melix raised his arms, and more streaks of mercury flew from his hands. The metal fell over the pontifical gardens, over the Pope's trees and hedges. The silver snake slithered through the air toward Ebenezer. Shoot snake. Ebenezer fired at the incoming snake. It evaporated and was gone. Now Melix turned his attention to the Quirinal Palace itself. Melix let fly another snake missile at Ebenezer. He aimed his fiendish magic at the Pope's residence. The archways and walls were covered with mercury. The silver snake slithered through the air toward Ebenezer. Melix flapped his wings and flew on. Melix flicked his wrist, and another snake missile appeared. Shoot snake. Ebenezabeth fired at the incoming snake. It evaporated and was gone. The magnificent Trevi fountain appeared below. Shoot Melix. Ebenezabeth fired her burning weapon at Melix, but his blue shield interposed itself, and the gout of flame was deflected harmlessly. Melix threw down his bolts, polluting the Trevi's blue waters with liquid steel. The silver snake slithered through the air toward Ebenezabeth. Shoot shield. Which do you mean? The violet shield, the indigo shield, the blue shield, the green shield, the yellow shield, the orange shield, or the red shield? Melix flew on toward the Palazzo Montecitorio. Shoot violet. Ebenezabeth fired at the violet shield, and it burst into thousands of purple pieces. He aimed at the old Egyptian obelisk. The flying snake was very close now, about to strike Ebenezabeth. Shoot snake. Ebenezabeth fired at the incoming snake. It evaporated and was gone. Mercury oozed over the ancient hieroglyphs. Melix flapped his wings, and a swarm of glittering shards of glass flew toward Ebenezabeth. Shoot orange. Ebenezabeth fired at the orange shield, and it burst into thousands of tawny pieces. He shot his bolts across the roof and down into the courtyard. Shoot red. Ebenezabeth fired at the red shield, and it burst into thousands of scarlet pieces. Suddenly, Melix turned. The swarm of glass shards was coming fast. He was heading for the stock exchange, where the temple of Hadrian once stood. Melix paused and summoned a metallic snake. He flung it at Ebenezabeth. Shoot glass. Ebenezabeth shot a blast of fire into the cloud of glass, to no effect. The shards were still flying toward her. Melix flung his missiles at the marble columns, laughing gleefully. Now the cloud of broken glass was almost upon Ebenezabeth. Dodge. Ebenezabeth swerved to avoid the swarm of shards, and it passed her harmlessly. He flew on. Ebenezabeth could guess where he was headed next. The silver snake slithered through the air toward Ebenezabeth. Shoot snake. Ebenezabeth fired at the incoming snake. It evaporated and was gone. Indeed, Melix's target was the great dome of the Pantheon. Shoot red. You can't see that, or it's not implemented. He loosed his jets of mercury at the red obelisk. Shoot blue. Ebenezabeth fired at the blue shield, and it burst into thousands of azure pieces. He sullied the Roman inscriptions, the bell towers. Melix flapped his wings again, summoning another cloud of glass shards. Now they flew over the Piazza Navona. Straight away, Melix began contaminating the fountain of the Moor. The swarm of glass shards was coming fast. Shoot yellow. Ebenezabeth fired at the yellow shield, and it burst into thousands of amber pieces. Dodge. Ebenezabeth swerved too early. The swarm of shards quickly turned to follow her. Next was the Fountain of the Four Rivers. With diabolical delight, Melix loosed a bolt of mercury at each of the figures in turn. Now the cloud of broken glass was almost upon Ebenezabeth. Dodge. Ebenezabeth turned quickly, evading the swarm of shards. Finally, he came to the Fountain of Neptune. Melix flapped his wings again, summoning another cloud of glass shards. He began firing at the figures of Poseidon and his daughters. Ebenezabeth grit her teeth, suppressing a furious scream. The swarm of glass shards was coming fast. Shoot green. Ebenezabeth fired at the green shield, and it burst into thousands of emerald pieces. Melix flew on toward the Aeolian bridge to attack rows of angelic figures. Melix flicked his wrist, and another snake missile appeared. Dodge. Ebenezabeth turned too early again, and the swarm of shards was still coming straight for her. At the far end of the bridge was the castle of the Holy Angel, Hadrian's Mole. Now the cloud of broken glass was almost upon Ebenezabeth. Melix wasted no time in spattering the fortress with mercury. The silver snake slithered through the air toward Ebenezabeth. Dodge. At the last second, Ebenezabeth swooped out on the swarm of shards path. Swooped out of the swarm of shards path. He turned to the left. Now Ebenezabeth realized his real plan. Melix paused and summoned a metallic snake. He flung it at Ebenezabeth. Shoot snake. Ebenezabeth fired at the incoming snake. It evaporated and was gone. All along, Melix had been making his way toward the Vatican itself. Shoot purple. It's not implemented. Now the pursuit came to the square of St. Peter. The silver snake slithered through the air toward Ebenezabeth. Shoot violet. It's gone. Melix conjured a great torrent of mercury over the mighty obelisk. Shoot snake. She fired at the incoming snake. It evaporated and was gone. Then at last they reached the Basilica of St. Peter. He loosed bolt after bolt of liquid metal at the greatest church in the world. Melix flapped his wings again, summoning another cloud of glass shards. Shoot blue, it's already gone. The walls of the basilica were covered in oozing mercury. Shoot yellow, you can't see that or it's not implemented. Melix went on circling the basilica. He had no other plans in mind. The swarm of glass shards was coming fast. Shoot red, it's not implemented. Ebenezabeth flew as fast as she could, trying to keep up with Melix. Melix let fly another snake missile at Ebenezabeth. Shoot green, it's already gone. He loosed bolt after bolt of liquid metal at the greatest church in the world. Now the cloud of broken glass is almost upon Ebenezabeth. Shoot orange, you can't see that, or it's not implemented. I'm clearly just flailing at this point because I can't remember what shields are still present, and it occurs to me too late that I can finally actually just try shooting the shield again to see. Dodge. Ebenezer swerved to avoid the swarm of shards, and it passed her harmlessly. The walls of the basilica were covered in oozing mercury. The silver snake slid through the air toward her. Shoot the shield. She fires the indigo shield, and it burst into thousands of deep blue pieces. Melix went on, circling the basilica. He had no other plans in mind. She flew as fast as she could, trying to keep up. He flicked his wrist, another snake missile. The snake, very close now, about to strike her. Shoot Melix. Ebenezer fired. Melix had no shields to protect him. The flames billowed around him, and he shrieked in surprise. She gets bit by a snake. She shoots the snake. She fired at an incoming snake. It evaporated and was gone. She flies as fast as she can. He throws another snake at her. He loses bolt after bolt of liquid metal. We shoot her again. She fired again, and again Melix was wrapped in flames. Yet when she caught sight of him again, she fancied she could see a limp in his left wing. The walls of the basilica were covered in oozing mercury. More snakes. Shoot Melix. Ebenezer fired her revolver at Melix once more. The flames engulfed his monstrous body. They melted his wings of glittering glass, and he began to fall. Like a golden falcon, Ebenezer dove through the air to catch him. She cradled him in her arms as she slowly bore him downward. Already he was returning to his true form. Not monstrous, not ugly, as perfect in his humanity as you or I. How could you do this? Ebenezer asked. You've poisoned the city. Melix shook his head, closing his eyes against her radiance. It's not real mercury, he grunted. It'll melt away soon, if that lady granted my wish right. Harmless. Now her feet touched the ground. Indeed, the silvery fluid that Melix had flung all over Rome was already disappearing, evaporating in the sun. Ebenezer groaned. Why, though? Why would you put us through that? Well, the way I see it, you can set me down, I'm fine. The way I see it, after a stunt like that, the Pope will never ask me to do him another favor. No Pope will ever ask me for any more favors, ever. You, on the other hand. The Pope looked down on Ebenezer, for, having resumed her true form, she had gone back to being shorter than him. The city of Rome and the Holy See both owe you a great debt, Miss Scrooge, for protecting us from this unthinkable crime. It was only a stupid prank, she said. Please don't be too hard on him. He raised his hand, waving the plea away. His punishment is not for us to decide. What is within our power is to reward your heroism. I need only consult with my treasurers about an appropriate amount. I think they will be feeling very generous toward a young woman who has proven herself so indispensable. That's probably supposed to be pronounced within the actual Italian pronunciation, but oh well. Ebenezer did not sigh or groan. She did not roll her eyes or bury her head in her hands. She nodded dutifully. The Vatican's generosity will be appreciated by my papa's charitable trusts and by their beneficiaries, she said. The Pope smiled sweetly. Oh, you are an angel, little girl. I am blessed to have you by my side. They both fell silent, and the peaceful atmosphere of the Basilica of St. Peter was supreme, and if there were angels hovering invisibly nearby, they hung close to Ebenezer and whispered noiselessly, Well done, our sister. Now you can rest. The end. Then the Pope broke the silence. But you were saying, started to what? Ebenezer blinked. Huh? Would you like to restart, restore a saved game, or quit? That's kind of an odd ending to things. Let's see. Is it suspect? This is the word spelled out by the various maps that we have explored. That's correct. 9 months later, the Pope's minister had been assassinated. The Swiss guard had been disarmed. Pius IX was a prisoner in his Quirinal palace. He crept quietly through the cellars. Outside, the revolutionaries, the rioters, were chanting, screaming the most unseemly, unchristian things, slurs against the pontifex, against the church, against the Holy Mother. All he had done in the name of peace. What more could they want from him? His head on a platter. Pius reached the farthest corner of the vault, drew a curtain aside. There she stood, a little dusty, but as lithe and beautiful as ever. Have you made your decision? Asked the statue. Oh, you must protect me, the Pope pleaded. You must get me out of this palace. I wish to be taken far away, out of the reach of these impious rebels. The statue was silent for a moment. Then she spoke. Pius the Ninth, do you still have the cloaking beam that Ebenezer and Melix left here? I think so, said the Pope. You should have someone use that on you, she said, so that you can escape Rome invisibly, instead of using up your wish. The Pope touched his forehead. Perché non ti abbiamo... Well, again, I don't speak Latin or Italian. I will copy and paste to Google. Why didn't we think of this before? Fair enough. Oh, thank you, thank you. He pulled the curtain over the statue and hurried away. Would you like to restart, restore a saved game, or quit? Well, this was quite the game. I enjoyed it very much the second time. Perhaps more even than the first time, since I had... my first time through, I struggled in the battle with Melix considerably more. So it was good to be able to take it at a more measured pace. Next time we will be playing The Little Match Girl and Her Friend the Crow. And this is a game I'm pretty sure I played, but we'll investigate that further. Thank you so much for watching today. I'm Jay Essen, and enjoy your weekend.